Y mi charla es sobre la tema por qué y cómo desarrolladores necesitamos pensar sobre la privacidad de usuarios. How and why we should care about privacy of our users. And you know, a lot of people could think, at least in the United States, like, oh no, like, I want to have a tech talks. I don't want to have a politics talks. Like, why do we speak about, like, why don't we speak about code and speak about the politics, etc.? And this is a good question. So, what is like connection between software industry and politics, principles, etc.? Open source. Who use open source in their development? Everyone. And funny part that open source was created not, to have a free software, like to make it without payment of money. Open source was created to be totally control of your machine, that this machine should be belong to you, that you should control of everything, understand how it works, etc. And so open source idea is completely political. Another idea, hacking. Hacking is not only getting money from other people. This is a political idea of mistrust the authorities. But my favorite one is a cryptography. Like any times when you go to the website, we are going to like HTTPS, and this S means cryptography. And people who created this cryptography, they believe that like our decision, which we are making about our software, really like determine the kind of society which we live in tomorrow. That like we as a programmers really could change the future of our society. And I believe this is a very important idea. So software industry was always about politics. And it's only a new idea, to be in the Silicon Valley and just work for the money. Like, for instance, there is a very interesting movie called Hackers from 1933, and like they show completely different picture of ourselves. Like these people is like I prefer to be like them, not like people in Silicon Valley. So okay, next question: why you should care? First, like you should care about politics because you really create society of tomorrow. If you will create a software to track what like managers do on their machines, then these managers will use it against you. Next reason, like having some principles really like create could feel a hole inside you, create some meanings of your life, because just working for money is like meaningless. But there is many reasons, many principles, many revolutions. You should not care only about the privacy. There is many ways to care about our future. But and I cannot, there is no way to compare them. Like any of your principles is good. But I will try to explain why I think privacy is important. There is a lot of mistakes about privacy. Like one mistake is we should not care about privacy because they watch for us only to make a better advertisement. And this is false. Because the main problem of privacy is not like Google Analytics. The main problem is data brokers. It's a very shady company who buy data from many applications, collect them together, create some connections, and sell them to a very shady clients. There is a very good example. In 2020, it was a company called Xmode data broker, and they buy the data from a many big application like Quran application, Muslim dating app, or like Craigslist. It's a very popular application in the United States. And then they combine this data and sell it to a United States military contractor. Like what it could be more shady than like shading Muslim data to US military in 2020. Okay, another mistakes, my company doesn't do it, so I should not care. And it's already not how it works in reality, because the main problem is not only that your company will sell the data. Also the problem that this data could be leaked, that some hackers could break into your servers and get this data. And we have more and more leaks every day. So if you store anything into your database, this data will be leaked in some moment in the future. It's better to not store, because this is the only way how you can protect this data. There is a very good example. There is a Russian service, Russian Glovo. It's called Yandex Food Delivery. And they leaked all data about all deliveries during the 2 years. And the most important part, these food deliveries have an address. And they even created a website where you can put a name of the person and to see all addresses where this person asked a delivery. Imagine your grandma. She suggests you a very nice tortilla, but you will refuse it. But then she will go to this website and will find out that later you ordered Chinese food. And so it was fake that you was not hungry. And like everyone can do it. Like imagine how dangerous this leak is. Different case, another misconception. You know, we don't really have private data. Email is not private data. And it's already not how it works. The main problem right now is big data, that we can like have multiple pieces and then analyze them and make some decision. Imagine that you have a Quran application. So because it's Quran application, we know that you are Muslim, but there is no registration, nothing. Only location to show direction to the Mecca. So it's safe, yeah? It's not a private data. No, because you can use a different social application, which has your email because it has sign-up process, and it's also use location to make photos. And then we have a data breach, data leak, with email and your full official name. And combining this data, we can understand that this exact person is Muslim. So location, emails, it's all private data because it could be used in big data. For instance, there is like, who uses Google Analytics on their website? It's okay to confess. There is a very like creepy stuff about Google Analytics. Google Analytics don't track users only on this website. It has a global ID. As a result, it tracks users across the whole path through the internet. And Google Analytics is on about half of the websites. But also it could track where you go if the next site doesn't have Google Analytics because it see where you click. And also, if you went from another website without Google Analytics, the next site could find out where you're coming from because of the referrer. So as a result, Google Analytics know about 2/3 your passes in the internet. So they know exactly what you're doing every day. And like, it's really creepy. Okay, you know, like, if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear, yeah? Like, I don't care about my privacy because like I have nothing to hide. You know, like maybe you don't care, but there is people who care. There is a very creepy case when a Twitter employee sold data to the Saudi monarchy, and they use this data to put this woman to jail and kill this teacher. So like if Twitter would not collect this data, this employee could not sell anything. So the main idea, if you will not save this data, it will not be leaked. Another reason, like, you know, Saudi Arabia is something like far away, but in Amsterdam, in EU, there is a company who creates facial recognition software and sell it to Russia. And they use it to track people who are going to the protest. So like if you're going to protest in Russia, there is no police which will grab you on the streets. They will collect your data, and then days after, they will go to your home and grab you there, because like if they will grab you on the streets, people will start angry, start to fight back. But if it goes like a few days later, silently, etc., it works very perfectly. Or you know, like we are in Spain, like there is even a case when like Proton Mail give a data to Spanish government, and they use this data with an data from Apple, and put a policeman to jail because he supported for protests. It's really creepy stuff. So unfortunately, like there is people who have something to hide, but also if LMs know your private data, it could much more efficiently convince your political views. And it's already very like dangerous stuff. I personally believe that privacy is an important part of democracy, because without privacy, we all be the same, because society will force us to be equal. But privacy will like create some safe area where we can be different. And like I believe that privacy is a key part of the democracy. Okay, but what we can do about it? This is a problem of Facebook, of Google, yes? Another topic. You know, like, modern internet is shit. It's full of pop-ups, yeah? Like, somebody put these pop-ups and like, it's so hard to use it. But am I in a dev conference? We made internet a shitty place. We created all pop-ups. So, the first thing which you can do, remove GDPR pop-up. And you know, a lot of people think like, I can do it because like it's required by the GDPR law. Like all this, you know, European Union bureaucrats, it's forcing me to do it, and I don't want to do it, but like it's only because of them. You know, funny part, there is no pop-up in GDPR law. And we have pop-up because of the different reason. GDPR it's very like interesting law. The core concept is like don't track user. But we have pop-ups because we cannot understand this simple idea. Like we prefer to punish our users until they will agree to give their data instead of stop tracking them. You know, like pop-up is technically a bad design practice. It's like a way to force people to do what they don't want. So the real important way to care about, if you want to make a picture, by the way, I think it's like, this is how I see most of the pop-ups, by the way. So like, if you really care about GDPR, and what GDPR is really telling you, is that you should not like have a Google Analytics, you should instead use GDPR compatible analytics. Then you don't have any pop-ups, but when users sign up, give any private data to you, like, you know, reasonably, then you tell users that I'm going to save this data, I'm okay with that. Like, and if this data is not, if this data is optional, it should be like a checkbox to like not save this data. And GDPR analytics without pop-ups like cookieless analytics is technically very capable. It could track like browsers, page visits, etc., but also it could track events, it could track sources, it could track campaign. The only two things which it should not care, it could not track, is first it could not put a unique session ID on like each request, because otherwise with this data you can create the full path of each user, and this is tracking by definition. And second thing which you cannot do is a thing called remarketing. Who know what it does mean? It's like very shady stuff when you like, you know, when you go to a website, sit, I don't know, shoes, and then in your social media and Facebook you have the shoes advertisement. This is called remarketing. And to be honest, it's like tracking by definition. It's really shady. There is a lot of very good application to replace your analytics. I personally use Plausible. It's very good, but like all of them will work. So like I highly recommend all of them. It's easy to replace Google Analytics. And but like, what if your marketing manager force you to add Google Analytics? You know, like I believe that they often don't have reasons. They have obsession of data collection. And there is a very simple separation, how we can separate obsession with the real needs. Ask manager, did they have some decision based on the data, which like it private? If they did not make any decision for the last year based on this data, it's obsession, it's not they really need it. And the most important part, that you cannot trust Google Analytics. Because if your analytics use a private data, you show up the pop-up, and some of users press no. And as a result, you don't have, and for these users, you cannot collect all data. As a result, you will have two different groups. And there is, like, it's very wrong to make a decision only based on the data from one group. Like about one sort or two sorts press no on the GDPR pop-ups. And as a result, this data is completely corrupted. You can trust only this data of all users. And this data is only data, not private data. And GDPR pop-up is not only about Europe. It's also like in California, it's Morocco, it's many countries. And soon we will have the same law framework everywhere. So like there is no way, you know, to like we don't work in Europe. This is like not a way because like you should not work in California, etc., like in many different countries. And I really believe that we as like a community should change the industry to stop using Google Analytics, even if sometimes it could be better, could be worse for the business. Like who remember how we killed Internet Explorer? Like it was years ago, it was a browser which was very painful to make a website. And like, it was a conspiracy between our community how to kill this browser, and we really succeed with that. And I really believe that we should do the same this time. Okay, second step, remove GDPR pop-up, but also, you know, in the GDPR pop-up, there is a numbers of companies which you share the data. And like, you know, we really care about your privacy, and then like huge list of the companies. So, the main problem is that there is a lot of companies which have access to the private data, not only like Google Analytics. It could be also CDNs for the fonts, for the JavaScript libraries. It could be also your hosting, of course, mail service support. And if you reduce number of these services, you will reduce probability of data leaks or some shady company selling your data. So, for instance, don't use public CDN for fonts. Don't use public CDN for JavaScript libraries. Like, don't use Google Fonts. It's very bad for the performance also. Also, like, try to use self-hosted solution even if right now you are using a cloud solution. Because if you start to use self-hosted, like, well, there is an option of self-hosted, then you can go there, maybe later. And try to combine a lot of features on one cloud. For instance, if you have, I don't know, like AWS and Cloudflare, don't use these two different services. Use Amazon CDN. It's pretty similar, but then you will have all data, private data, only in Amazon, not like shared between two different companies. Okay, step number 3, local first. It's advanced step. It's only for the new application. There's like no way to, like, it's very hard to convert a real application to local first. So, right, like years before, in different generation, in different like university, all data was locally. Like we keep all, like, do you remember Winamp? Who used Winamp? Like, you remember when your music is locally, how it's cool? But then iPhone was invented. And as a result, we start to put data to the cloud to make a way to synchronize it between two computers. Because right now, every user has two computers, and we need a way to synchronization. But I suggest a third way, combining these two. This way, when we will put all data locally, but we also will have cloud, very small one, only to synchronize the data. So your music will be here and on your phone, and not in the cloud. You will only we use this cloud to send this data to your phone. There is a whole manifesto. It's called Local First. Manifesto. It was created by a laboratory called Ink and Switch. It's very nice, like ideas. There is a few like concepts behind it. Highly recommend to read the full version. I will drink. But there is a very good example which I want to share you. How many people use Notion? It's very, very popular stuff. I want to tell you, like, Notion is completely cloud solution. Yeah? Your notes is openly in the cloud. They contribute everything, and they really like train AI on it. Like, it's not the worst part. But there is another application called Obsidian. They'll store all your notes locally in the folder. All your notes is markdown files. And you can use whatever tool to synchronize it between your phone and your laptop. They have their own cloud. It costs about €5 per month. This is their monetization project. So it's not only about politics, it's also about making money. But you have a choice how to synchronize them. And it's very cool, like, example of local first. But this is like extreme example. Local first is spectrum. You could do something in the middle. You should not like do completely crazy stuff. It's impossible for your case. So how to make a local first? First, we need a storage. We will keep all data locally, so it will be a huge data, 50 megabyte, 200 megabyte. So we need a good performance and a rich query language. So we need database. And you know, funny part, that right now we can run database in the browser. There is a project called SQLite Wasm and PGLite. It's Postgres, full Postgres in the browser, in JavaScript. It's right now a very like, solid solution. Funny part that like we need to store this data. Of course, we cannot use like local storage. And there is a very good API called OPFS. It's a way for JavaScript to ask browser to create a folder where you can do whatever you want. And so we'll store our database there. But also, we can use index.db. And funny part that index.db in Firefox is SQLite. So like, if you use index.db, we will put SQLite to this SQLite, and it still will be faster. Anyway, so don't use index.db directly. It's a shitty database. Then we need to do one interesting thing. In our application, for instance, web, but it could be like any application, we need, like, we will have SQLite, like Postgres, like database. But in our code, we will not change the database. Instead, we will create actions, like a small object what we changed. And to create, we will have a log, list of these actions. And then we will listen to this log and update our database from action from this log. So like we will go to database and change some column only because we have an action there. And then like because we change database, we will update our user interface. So we will create this small loop. Why we need it? Because in our case, not only our code will change our database. It could be done by server. And in this architecture, it doesn't important where this action came. It could be from another browser tab. It could be from cloud. Anyway, the path is only one. how we will change database. It will simplify your architecture. Then we will need CRDT to automatically resolve conflicts. This is a very good technology. It's already implemented in the libraries. There is a YGS library, there is a aftermerge library. And like right now, it's very easy to use it. And like it's not magical one, especially if you implement map or set. With this case, like you can resolve conflicts automatically. It's very nice tech. But then we will need two different passwords. One password to open a cloud, and another password to encrypt all the data which is going through the cloud. This is why on the cloud there will be no open data and nothing to sell. Okay, we created this architecture. We created because of our principles, because we believe in politics, etc. But funny part, we got a few very good business advantages from it. What business advantages? First, our server is simpler, so we don't need backend developers anymore. We can like create a very simple, very small server. Second, we can even create a prototype without any server. So we can start to make money from our investors without a backend developers. It's also a very good advantage for the business. Also, it's very easy to scale. Right now, because we keep our data and like all our logic in the cloud, if we have more users, we need more servers. But with local first, more users means that they bring more hardware. As a result, you will scale automatically, and you can use the same server across the multiple devices. Then, you don't have any problem with privacy, with data leaks, etc. There is nothing to leak because they have encrypted. And funny part, all people who implemented local first told me that it started to become much faster for them to deliver features, to write code. Why? Because if you have a local first, you will put all synchronization of not all networking to the separated servers. And you will connect to this service in a declarative way. And as a result, your components, for instance, React components, if you're a front-end developer, will become much simpler, much more easy to use, and you will have less code. So people start to deliver features faster, and this is very good for the business. And my favorite one, you will start to be very fast, because all data is local. You don't need to wait them from the servers. And this is how you can be separated from your competitors. You can say, yes, there is like a better tool, but mine is faster. And this is a good reason to give money to you and not to your competitor. For instance, there is a very good startup called Linear. It's like a to-do application, like Jira. And the funny part, they really believe that they become popular because of the local first, because people choose them. Like, task manager is a very popular field. There is a lot of competitors. And they become successful because of the local first, because local first gives them performance, and it separates them from any other competitors. There is also a pitch. It's a slides editor. It has about 2 million users. But the main example is GoodNotes. They have about 25 monthly active users, and it's huge, and they're local first. So local first is not, some creepy idea from, activists, from some hackers, from, crazy persons. It's like really production right now, and it's easy, not easy, but it's possible to implement. There is a lot of frameworks. This is mine, because it has nice linguistic part, but all of them is good, to be honest. I personally very interesting also Replication. They have a very production-ready thing called Zero. And Electric SQL, they created this PG-Lite, but also they create a way to to synchronize Postgres in browser with Postgres on the server. So also amazing technology. There is a very good guide about how to go to the local first. All links about the frameworks, etc. is there, so highly recommend just to make a photo. I will take a drink. So, okay, this is the end for the local first. There is also a last topic. It will be funny, simple, or maybe not really funny. Anyway, interesting case. When we think about privacy, we think only about problem of privacy in the United States, like everywhere else, like anyone else. Yeah, like we have neocolonialism right now. Like we all think only about the United States problems, but privacy is much more complex. Like. Of course, this question is not for small projects. Like if you're working on Facebook and Instagram, please think about what I will tell later. But of course, for the small projects, not so important. So there is a lot of problems with the privacy. Not only government secret service, not only surveillance, not only data brokers, but also your family member. They could grab your phone, put your fingers while you're sleeping, and operate your devices. Or for instance, a local community, you know, like churches. They could like track that you are a very good citizen, and it could be creepy. And in the United States, we are focusing only on their problems, but not on the problems of whole like world. And the funny part that if you're creating a software which is privacy, good in terms of privacy for the United States, it doesn't mean that it will be good in other countries. Sometimes you need completely different ways in different countries. For instance, I right now creating a RSS reader with like privacy first RSS reader. Of course, for United States people, I will like from this application will go directly to the news websites because people in the United States don't trust clouds. Okay, I understand them. But also like I'm originally from Russia, and for my friends, I will not go directly because like we don't trust our internet provider. And if my phone are going to site Navalny website, like it's very obvious that the internet provider will sell this data to the government and I will be in jail. But people in Russia really believe in the American clouds that they will not sell the data. At least they would not, like in the past, because right now it's a very strange alliance. Yeah. Anyways, at least today believe in the European the cloud servers. So they prefer to use clouds. So it will be a way to hide where they're going. Or my like, favorite example, like not really favorite because it's not fun, but anyway, so in Russia, in Belarus, it's a completely normal case. You are going through the streets, and there is a random police check, you know, like police in Russia could randomly check your devices. And they could ask you to unlock your Telegram. Yeah, really, it happens multiple times. And you have two options. First, you can unlock your device, there is a Navalny channel there, and you're going to jail. Second one, you can, you know, understand, you have a rights, like you have no reason to do it, and they will just break your legs, and like anyway, it will be the same. So, what we can do about that? And like, what Silicon Valley program, social media think about this problem? None. This is why there is a very interesting society called Belarusian Cyber Partisans, and they created a fork of Telegram. Unfortunately, Telegram refused to add this feature, but they created a fork where you can define two different pin numbers. One pin will unlock your phone normally, but another one, when you enter it, it will delete all channels which is like unsafe, and also send SMS to your like friends like there is a problem, please help me, I'm in police. So summary, what you should think of next Monday when you will be at work. First, find your principles. It's much better to live with principles. Second, remove GDPR pop-up by moving to cookie-less analytics. Then, reduce number of services which has access to the private data by combining them together. Then, think about the local first when you will create a new project. And last one, think about other privacy risks, like outside of United States. And I remind you this quote, that like software which we create today will determine society where we live tomorrow. So that's all. This is my social media, Mastodon, of course, Blue Sky. And this is a QR code with slides if you need some links. Thank you. Questions? Y yo puedes preguntarme en español.
Okay, no worries. So we have time for questions. He has said either English or Spanish. So let's start.
Thanks. Thanks for the talk. That's great to hear some fresh ideas like local. I mean, local first is actually in production. Probably not that fresh, but kind of fresh to me because I'm a backend developer. Yeah. So you started the local first introduction from Winamp, from like music service, and well, like music is kind of heavy data. Yeah, it's like with I don't know with MP3, it was okay, but there is like lossless that is much more than like couple megabytes per song, and there is like next step that is like I don't know Netflix. Yeah, so like is it possible to make some local first replacement for Netflix because like movies in good quality? Yeah, they're way above 1 or 2 gigabytes as it used to be like 15 years ago. Yeah, they weigh now about 90 gigabytes per movie, which is like big part of my hard drive.
You know, there is a solution it's called home server with torrents. But of course, like when you download from torrents, then go and buy the media to give money for the creators. But like, you know, like this is a good question because not all software, of course, should be local first. For instance, if you're making, you know, anonymous, like ask me anything anonymously, it should not be local first because it will, if it will be on my device, you know, it will not be like anonymously question. I can check the IP address. So yes, not all software could be created as a local first. But for instance, for media, if you're talking about the video, I would prefer if I buy a movie, so then it should be like have an option to download and keep it locally. So if like a company will lose rights to like deliver this movie, I will still have a copy which I bought, which I paid the money for, not a rent like we do it right now. So like local first is spectrum. Sometimes it's not possible to implement a really local first. I agree, like we need to store somewhere, but yeah, it depends on the software. But to be honest, a lot of our software can be done with local first.
Okay, more questions.
I have two questions, follow up to the Netflix one. So I think that there could be some problems with the price because the distributors have limited, time-limited and geo-limited rights for distribution. I believe that if you bought what is on Netflix, it would be much, much more expensive than it's now. So what do you think about it? And the second question, right now, if you show to the world this feature of this Telegram fork that there are two pins, aren't you afraid that if you show just CSS hacks and GitHub to the Belarusian police, you'll still get your legs broken?
Oh yeah, nice question. So the first question. The good part that local first is open private for local first. There is a very interesting price model. Like you can run your software locally, but if you want a cloud to synchronize, this is a way how you pay. It will not work for the Netflix case, of course, but like it will work for that case. For Netflix, of course, it's much more complex because we have special companies which pay money for the governments, which create a special law for these companies. You know, like in normal countries we call it corruption, but in the United States we call it, I don't know, like connection between a business and the government. So yeah, sometimes it could be hard, and in this area, especially in an area when the law was created specially like to stop us to do it. So yeah, sometimes it could be hard. Second question is very interesting. You know, like if a policeman knows that you maybe have two passwords, could be like not a solution. And in Android right now, there is a way to create a copy of the application, and this copy will be unlocked only if like you, I don't know, like will enter a special pin. It will be hidden from the devices. But the funny part, not funny part, unfortunately for the people, it's very easy to go to the settings and check that it is enabled. And as a result, like, you know, like they could just punish you. So when you're implementing such feature, it's very important to not tell that it is active. That user interface, when it's active and not active, should be similar. For instance, you should not ask, like, you know, on this special screen, like, enter your PIN code to show your secret. Like, it should be, by the way, it's a very interesting design question. So it should be like a special text which describes that this person could not have this. Police, please don't, like, you know, beat him. It's a possible feature, but we're not sure is it enabled or not for this user. If it will enter correct PIN, that you will go to the settings. But policeman doesn't know, like, is it enabled or not, and like what is correct PIN. So it's very important to do it in this way. And also, this is why biometrics will not work, because like if this secret folder could be unlocked by biometrics, they will, like, you know, grab you and put your fingers to the screens. So it's very interesting design question which we need to specially think about to protect from this kind of the problems. Yes.
More questions?
Thank you. First of all, thank you for the great presentation. It's really enlightening. My question is about like data, which if supposedly if we did build a privacy-oriented platforms in the first place, would AI be advanced today the same that it would be with privacy-first platforms? This is my first question. My second question is like, does this privacy-related thing tend to push more companies to change their business model? And do you see it happening anytime soon in the modern world? Thank you.
I will start, thank you for the question. I will start from the second one because it's much simpler. You know, like the whole idea of GDPR was not to force you to create pop-ups. It was created with one purpose, to destroy the data broker's business from the ground. So yes, the whole idea is to force company to change business models because the main problem is business models. And I personally believe that the main problem is not even a business models, but the funding. Right now there is a idea that if we fund your website, you should grow exponentially. But like when we open a pharmacy, we don't expect the pharmacy to grow exponentially. And this is why like people funding business for pharmacy, they will fund you only if you can prove that your website, if your business idea will work. Because like they expect to have only about 50% of the not getting money backs. But for our Silicon Valley, there is an idea that we fund everyone, and if there is one unicorn with exponential growth, it will, get money back for all others attempts. And it's create a force that your funds will force you to grow exponentially. Don't find a good sustainable business model, and in the end, when you have very popular tool like Twitter, the only way how you can fund yourself, how you can find money, it's selling data. So the whole I believe that core idea is this exponential growth, because the only way to fund it is to selling data. Because this is why I personally believe in Basecamp or way when you have a small amount of the developers. Don't hire 100 developers and just keep a small team, be effective, etc. I think this is a more sustainable way to make a business. But this is my belief. I'm not sure how it will be in the future. This is how I see the picture. About the AI. Yeah, it's a very interesting question. Will the country, which doesn't care about privacy, will all perform us in AI things? Good question. But do I want to live in this good country? I'm not sure. I moved to the Europe from United States because I hate United States. And maybe it's okay to not be very advanced in some things, but be happy. It's a complex moral questions, but I personally believe that the future is for the local models. There is a very good local models. There is a Gemma Nano. And the funny part, it's not very smart, but if you will fine-tune it exactly for your case, it could be very capable. And I personally, by the way, the next talk and the third track will be about run AI model locally, so highly recommend. So this is a way how we can work with your data and with AI, run it locally, if I answered your question.
We have still time to do more questions.
So, okay, you can hear me. So do you think with the phone's storage actually becoming the sellers like Samsung, Apple, etc., not wanting to give you more than 100 gigabytes of storage on your phone, do you think that will become a problem if we suddenly start switching to local first? Because personally, I find it I have been trying to move away from the cloud where I can, and I find it challenging to fit stuff on my phone.
Yeah, it's a good question. Yes, we need more data, definitely, and maybe you need home server sometimes, to be, fully separated. Of course, I'm not talking about this exactly case. I'm not talking about that you need to be completely disconnected from the clouds. Of course, you should moderate. It's a spectrum. It depends, about how to store the data effectively. I personally think that about half of the projects don't keep a lot of data. I don't know, I see GDPR pop-ups even on the conference website, not T3chFest, they're good. But on many conferences, there is a GDPR pop-up. Do we store any important data on the client? No. So we will need more data only for the specific types of application. And in this case, good part, you don't need a very fast internet. So you can save money on buying a fast internet because and keep this and put this money into more storage. So this could be answer, but yeah, but don't need to sync every time. Right now, because all data is in cloud, you need to sync every time when you open. If you go to YouTube, you already watch this movie, and then open it, it will already download. So you need to download it twice. Or in Notion, every time when you go to Notes, you download this note. With Notion, it uses much less internet. So it could be answer, but yeah, sometimes we need to change something more in addition to software.